You know what you should do? You should follow me on Twitter at Bromo018. Link in the description. Do it now. So we have now made our way through 2 episodes of our PES 2020 Master League Wishlist, and today we bring it to an end with the 3rd and final part for my suggestions. Although last, it certainly isn't the least, as today we are really going to get into the meat of the suggestions for improvements with the real big guns. So hopefully you'll all stay tuned and enjoy the video. Remember, despite this being the final part for my suggestions, I'll be releasing a 4th part later on down the road, which will contain all of your suggestions, including shoutouts from all of the comments that are featured. As a result, if you have any suggestions that I haven't mentioned over the course of the series, then be sure to throw them down in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you. We've had some really good feedback so far, and there's still plenty more room for some improvements to include in part 4. So hit me up, guys. With that in mind, it's time to move on to our suggestions, and we begin by discussing the transfer system. I want to start this topic with the negotiations limit. In Master League, you have a negotiations limit of only 5 transfers, meaning that you can only make 5 transfer offers for players, whether that be a loan or a permanent, during that time. These refresh only every so often. I've never really understood the meaning or need for this to be a feature, and if anyone could shed some light on why this is the case, then please do let me know. I personally don't think there should be a limit on negotiations. You should have the ability to make any amount of transfers you want at any time. What if you're panicking on deadline day and need to bring in a few players? You're just screwed. It doesn't represent the transfer dealing system in a realistic light, because clubs can be fighting on multiple fronts, so to speak, at one time. So if that could be removed, that would be great. Speaking of deadline day, one issue that I would like to be addressed is how the hours on deadline day will count down every time you make a move. So again, you can only do one thing at a time and will then be forced to skip 2 hours of the day before you can receive a response and also take action on your next move. Again, this doesn't represent the situation in a realistic light, because particularly on deadline day, clubs are making multiple moves at once, and this prevents you from doing that. Deals are sometimes settled on in a matter of minutes, because officials from clubs are working together via email and over the phone with the clock ticking. But in Master League, it takes 2 hours before you even get a response. The change I'd like to see is for it to become more like the deadline day on FIFA career mode, where you control every advance and it only simulates an hour. Then it goes at your speed, and you can also do more than one deal at once. Next, I definitely need to address the AI transfer system. We've seen a lot of transfers which, simply put, really aren't going to happen. It puts a dampener on the experience for me, particularly when you're trying to do a realistic Master League save, and then you see some of the AI teams absolutely breaking the game. In my Rangers Master League series, we saw the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold going to Celtic on a permanent deal in the first season, which in itself is ridiculous. I know for a fact that a lot of people have been complaining about this issue for the same reasons, and I can feel their pain. I know that they tried to do minor adjustments to the system through data packs and updates, but it didn't really address this issue, so we're still finding it to be a problem. Now, I understand that you will get the occasional transfers slip through the nets, because that's just the way it goes, even in football, but not on the high level that I found it to be in Master League. So let's get that issue addressed. Finally, for the transfer section, I feel we have to see changes to user transfers as a whole, in that they need to become more active. When you make an approach for a player, the game gives you a percentage change of the offer being accepted, and then either they will accept or you'll get a notification stating that transfer talks have broken down. There's not enough emphasis on the negotiation process. I'd like to see it put the player into a situation where they're really having to deal with egos, just like there is in the real life footballing world, and trying to haggle demands down to a reasonable level. Currently, it doesn't put you in that position. It's essentially too black and white. This is something that Football Manager series just does so well. Agents will hold things against you or make negotiations easier based on their previous negotiating experiences with you. There will really be a haggling period where you're both trying to get the best deals. This is another area where Pro Evo needs to see major changes and improvements to better replicate the way in which it actually works and also make it more enjoyable. So that brings the transfer section of the wish list to a close. Now I'd like to talk to you guys about interaction. This feature, well, I say feature, but it really isn't one in Master League. It's essentially non-existent. And as you're probably already guessing, I want to see that changed. I honestly do feel like it's going to add a whole new dimension to the game, and I'm going to explain why as I go through the suggestions. To begin with, I'd like to see player interaction become a thing. Not only can they come to you with concerns about maybe being out of the team or wanting to leave, but you can also approach them for multiple reasons. Maybe you want to praise them for being on good form, or you want to warn them because of their conduct around the club or in training, etc. This could all be achieved. In this, you'd have a range of different options for interaction which can take the conversations in a range of different routes. At the end, there will be different results that could have a range of different effects. Maybe the player is disappointed with how you've treated him and you haven't been able to appease him. Maybe then he'll complain to his teammates, and you may see that the early signs of you losing the dressing room. Morale will start to decline a bit, and you'll see that take toll in training and on the pitch. This is going to be really fun for the player because it gives them even more to focus on and makes the experience less repetitive, because no longer will it simply be going from game to game without much room for divergence or anything else in between. Not only that though, but it would also help to, once again, give Konami that selling point of realism that they just love to throw out whenever advertising the game. Psychology is arguably the most important part of the job as a manager. Dealing with all of the different personalities and trying to blend them all into one unit for the entirety of the season so that you can try to produce the results. If the squad isn't happy, then the chances are that they aren't winning many games. If the manager has, quote unquote, lost the dressing room, then he isn't going to last in the job very long. With the player interaction features, we begin to see that area of the manager's job and the footballing world represented in the game. Don't forget that what I've talked about is very basic and could go to a far deeper level than simply praising and warning players, etc. So please Konami, can we see some movement to introducing these sort of squad dynamics into the game? It's time to step it up 2 or 3 gears. The other part of the interaction feature that I also want to see added into the game is board interaction. Now I briefly alluded to this in the first part of the wishlist series when I discussed the potential addition of a request funds feature, where you could ask the board to inject more money into the transfer and wage budget. Well, I'd like to lead on from that with more license for interaction. Perhaps you want to change the objectives that they set for you because you feel they're either too high or too low. Or maybe you want the board to offer you a new contract because it's running out, or you feel that you deserve one. Remember that I also spoke about you as the manager having a contract in part 1. Again, there's a lot of places that Konami could take this section, and it's a vital part of football that has an everyday effect on the manager and his job. If you're going through a bad spell of results and the pressure might be mounting on you, the player will feel that more if you have
this board interaction, and they're telling you that results really must start to improve. It's going to make the player interact with the experience more as they try to fight their way out of it. So again, I feel like we need to start seeing major steps towards implementing these features into Master League. Well, I guess that brings part 3 of our Master League wishlist to a close. Remember to include your suggestions in the comment section down below, and you may get a shout out for part 4 later down the road. If you've made it through this far, then thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more regular gaming content from the likes of PES and FIFA. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter using the Twitter handle at Bromo018. The link is in the description below. And on that note, I'm Bromo18, and I'll see you soon.